So our next speaker, our last speaker of the day, she's the host of the Unarmed podcast. She's an influencer, an athlete, and a mom. She's a self-love advocate and creative, and one of my favorite clients ever. Please welcome Crystal. Keep going.
Hello, everybody. That's me, I promise. I just changed my hair recently. So when I got invited here, I was like, you want me to speak? Because I don't work in the wedding industry. And they're like, yeah, we want you to speak. I was like, well, what do you want me to talk about? You want me to talk about my wedding? Because I just got married last September. 2 of my vendors are here. Woo woo. And she's like, well, what do you normally talk about? It's like motivation, inspirational, get them hyped. And she's like, well, let's do that. I said, you got it. I'll do that. That was last year? Yeah, that was last year that they came to me with that. And just 5 months ago, I went through something in my life that completely changed my outlook on how I see things, on how I view things, on how I do things. And it made me really realize what matters in life. And that's me. And that's you. And I started thinking, how can I tie this into a presentation for a group of people who live their lives to, do I need to point this or something? It's not working. Flip it. Oh, there it goes. All right. Technical difficulties. You're in a business of pleasing others. And after that group that sat here, I was like, my God. I was like, this only makes it even more great. I'm so glad that group was here, because I was like, this is perfect. You guys live to please others. It is your bread and butter to please others. That is your career. But what you forget, that the most important thing in the world and the most important business to be in is the business of taking care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how in the heck are you going to be able to take care of others and make such a beautiful day for others? So my job today, and what I decided to do, is to share with you my story and to take it into 2 different parts. We're going to talk about strength, and we're going to talk about courage. Story of strength, the story of courage. My story of strength, specifically, I'm not in the wedding business, but I was definitely in the business of pleasing others in my story of strength. Always in the business of pleasing others. So let's start with that story. Back in 2013, I was involved in a car accident due to a tire blowout that resulted in the amputation of my right arm. I was 24. I had just landed an incredible job in San Antonio, Texas, one of the #1 companies to work for. It was said in Forbes magazine that it was harder to get a job at this company than it was to get into Harvard. I was in heaven. I had a boyfriend. At the time of the accident, we were together for 6 months. I knew I wanted to marry that man, and I married him. And I was in heaven, and my life was turned upside down that day. And my story of strength there comes because I immediately, and I tell you immediately, put this wall up. I was going to become Superwoman. I was not going to become someone that you belittled, someone that you thought, oh, poor girl. Because you know what I get a lot of? You're so pretty, it's unfortunate you don't have your arm. Okay, thanks. I didn't want to be that person. I still wanted to live that independent life that I was living before my accident. The day of that accident, it's a lot. It's a lot. But the day of that accident, I was flown to a hospital in San Antonio. And the moment that I'll never forget, one, I was alone. They didn't allow my boyfriend to come with me. He was the one that was with me in the accident. Luckily, nothing happened to him. They didn't let anybody come with me. Now, I also didn't have any family that lived in San Antonio or near. They lived 4 hours away. I had no one. They stuck me in this hospital. They looked at me, said, "This is just her arm. Everything else is good. We've got another crash coming in. These people, their lives are about to be on the line," and they pushed me to a corner. I can't even begin to tell you what it felt like to know that your arm looks like it had just been through a meat grinder. You didn't know what the hell was about to happen to you, and you're pushed in a corner by yourself. I'm reaching my arm out in tears. Please, to the nurses, please stay with me. Please, somebody. No, we got other people. I can't even begin to describe what that felt like. And then, the only reason a nurse came up to me was because he said, "Your mother has been calling nonstop, and she needs to stop. So you need to talk to her." I said, "No, sir." I said, "I do not want to hear my mother cry. I don't need that right now. Nor do I want to just tell her that the doctor had just told me I'm going to amputate your arm." He said, "You have to do it because she cannot call anymore." I said, "All right, call the number." So I held every tear inside, every emotion inside, everything I was feeling in that moment, alone, scared, everything, I held it inside. And I said, "Mom, they told me they're going to amputate my arm, but I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to get through this. I love you." And I gave the phone away. And it was because of that for 8 years, it's been 8 years since my accident, that I lived with nothing but strength. I never, ever asked for help. I always did what I wanted to do. I went on to become one of the first CrossFit athletes to ever be out there. I got sponsored by Reebok. I had work with Nike. I had work with Facebook. I had everything, sponsorships, jobs. I had it all. I had the followers on Instagram. I had people coming up to me, booking me for motivational speeches of how to get through. You lost your arm, so what? Get up, get through it, just like I did. But that was all coming from strength. Purely strength. That was purely surviving. I was never telling anyone what was truly going on the inside. Solely strength. That's it. Now, the next story, I didn't even think I would get emotional with that story, but this next story is very, very fresh in my heart because it happened just 5 months ago. This next story is a story of courage. Now, I've experienced anxiety pretty much my entire life. And I think every single one of you in this room has probably experienced anxiety with the industry that you're in at one point or another. We all experience it at very different levels. Anxiety is like a spectrum. We all experience it at different levels. There's different ways to experience it. I've experienced it my whole life, and I coped with it my entire life. And this past May, I got hit with the worst experience of anxiety that I have ever had. Uncontrollable thoughts. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to say it because I'm going to say my truth. I was having thoughts of suicide. I've never had a thought of suicide in my life, ever. But these images were coming in my head, scared the crap out of me. And I wondered where this came from. Where is this coming from? Me, Crystal Cantu, the girl that got up from that accident and started lifting weights like no one would imagine before. 135 pounds with one arm, that was me. I did that. Out of strength, out of stubbornness, out of my mentality that I could do whatever I wanted despite any adversity that came my way. How am I going through this? Why am I going through this? I could not understand where it was coming from, but something in my heart told me, something's wrong. You're not saying something. You need to say something. I checked myself into the ER. I had to start medication because I was in a very, very bad place. And I started listening to this podcast, which, write it down if you would like. It kind of saved my life. It's called the Anxiety Guy Podcast. Now, that man, whenever I listened to his podcast, there were days where my mind was making me feel like I was stuck inside my body and my mind was controlling me. The worst feeling in the world. And I got up and I would go on walks every day. Completely left social media, completely left everything. I knew I needed to leave it in order to heal. And this man kept saying, if you're not seeing any progress, which I wasn't, he says, then you do not want to change. And I kept thinking, what do I need to change? I'm exactly who I need to be. I'm strong. I get shit done on my own. Not to be mean, not to be rude, but I can probably do more than all y'all with one arm. I had a baby. I raised a little boy with one arm. I lift weights with one arm. I do it all with one arm. Me, you're telling me that I have to change? No. People come to me for advice. People come to me for motivation. I don't need to change. But I did need to change. And it didn't take but one moment of clarity for me to realize that I never, ever, ever, within those 8 years, have courage. I never had the courage to say, I feel less of a woman without an arm. I don't feel pretty. I'm scared that my boyfriend's gonna leave me for someone with 2 arms. I never had the courage to say any of that. I never had the courage to say I'm hurting. I'm embarrassed when people stare at me. I'm embarrassed when kids ask or when kids point out, hey, she doesn't have an arm. It embarrasses me. I never said it, ever. I never had the courage to say it. But I'm so, so proud to say that today, 5 months later, I have the courage to say that. I have the courage to say that. I have the courage to know that you cannot solely rely on strength. You have to have the courage to know when you have had enough, when you need a break, when you need to stop pleasing others and make yourself happy. When you're in a business that you're in and your priority is other people, you forget about yourself, you forget about who you are, you get lost in these other people's lives and in what they want, and you forget what you want. It was so hard for me in that first few months of healing to sit in a room with quiet, with stillness. I couldn't comprehend it because I was constantly on my phone, constantly online, constantly helping others, constantly pleasing others, that I couldn't bear silence. I didn't know what that felt like, and it scared the shit out of me. You need to know your boundaries. Those girls that were up here, please, please know your boundaries. Be vulnerable. Be vulnerable. If you feel like you're tired up here and in here, take a break. Take a break. Get off your phone. It doesn't matter that much. Just 3 weeks ago, I was involved in another car accident. In a car accident that nearly took the life of me, my husband, and my son, because a guy decided that he wanted to race on the highway. Our car was totaled. Totaled. Your phones don't matter. You can put your phone down for 5, 10 minutes, hell, even an hour. All this work that you're doing, you can put it on hold for 10, 15 minutes, even an hour. Pray, meditate, do yoga, go for a walk, work out, do what you want to do. Yes, your job is to please others, but never forget that the most important job in the world is to take care of yourself, because we only get one life, and trust me when I say that this life is so short, and I've come this close twice, and I'm still here for a reason. I'm still here for a reason. I struggled between those two women during these 5 months of healing. I struggled thinking that I needed to leave her, the woman full of strength, and I needed to be the girl full of courage. And I struggled with that. It was confusing. It was very confusing. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't know who I was anymore, because I couldn't comprehend who I needed to be. I was this girl for so long. That girl was successful. That girl did amazing, amazing things. I couldn't understand why I had to let her go. But what I finally came to realize is that I don't have to let her go. But what I have to do is I have to mesh them together. I have to mesh them together. I have to be strong, because if I wasn't strong through what I went through in May, I wouldn't have been here today. So I had to mesh those two girls together. And that's what you have to do. You have to be strong to do what you do. You do. To be hearing these things back and forth, no, you're not doing it right. No, not this, not that. You have to be strong to take that. But you also have to have the courage to know when to speak up and know when enough is enough, and that you need to take time for yourself. And there is this beautiful poem that I'm going to leave you with. It says, "It takes strength to be firm. It takes courage to be gentle. It takes strength to stand guard. It takes courage to let down your guard. It takes strength to conquer. It takes courage to surrender. It takes strength to be certain. It takes courage to have doubt. It takes strength to fit in. It takes courage to stand out. It takes strength to feel a friend's pain or a patient's pain, but it takes courage to feel your own pain. It takes strength to hide your own pains. It takes courage to show them, just like I'm doing here today. It takes strength to endure abuse. Don't act like you all aren't abused, because I know you are. It takes courage to stop it. It takes strength to stand alone. It takes courage to lean on another. And the most important two sentences in that poem, it takes strength to survive. Just to survive, purely survive. It takes courage to live. I want to live. I don't just want to survive anymore. I want to live. And I know you guys want to live too. So you need to stop surviving. You need to start living. Thank you. if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm an open book. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I don't easily get offended or anything. Yes?
You mentioned that there was a podcast called Anxiety.
The Anxiety Guy podcast. He also has a program called the Inner Circle program, which I'm currently on, and that has been a tremendous help for me. It's a 16-week program that you do online. Anybody else? Anybody else? I didn't put my social handles on there. I haven't been very active on my socials recently because I've been doing me. But I did put my email up there in the case that you wanted to shoot me an email. I will gladly respond to that. And hopefully one day I will get back to being a lot more active on my socials. But right now, I'm doing me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad. I didn't think I would like fit in here, you know, but I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you. I hope it hit you guys. I hope it did. Anybody else before I?
Anybody else?